I'm Jim Hoffman, born November 5th, 1927 in a little farming community of Rosendale, Wisconsin.
Okay.
The Depression affected us in many ways. My father always had a job, but he was manager of a milk plant, and it wasn't a very high-paying job. Nevertheless, he never had to go out looking for other work, so we were very fortunate. And so many men didn't have that. Uh, my family, by and large, was not really supportive of Roosevelt, but they my father's younger brothers got a job. He had been jobless, but he got a job with the CCC, the Civilian Conservation Corps, and he went to work out in the forests, Wisconsin, building trails and building cabins and things like that. So the the family was helped, and because, as I say, my father never did, was never without a job, and therefore he had perhaps a little different opinion of what needed to be done.
Okay.
I think the Depression had been helped by some of Roosevelt's policies, and he tried so many things, and he was desperately trying to bring help to Americans, and started coming out of the Depression when we slipped back into another recession, from which we didn't recover until the start of World War II. And when we started, particularly after World War II started in Europe, and American factories started producing armaments for the British and the French. For us in the family, because finances were tight, I wore clothes often that were handed down to me from one of my cousins who was a couple months older than I was, but he was bigger than I was. So the we didn't have lots of extras. That is, we didn't go off on vacations except to drive up to Marshfield, 100 miles away, to visit my paternal grandparents, and that was probably the extent. My father was too young for World War I and too old for World War II, but he had three brothers that were in the army and fought in Europe, and I knew because all young men expected to go into the service somewhere, somehow, and my desire was always to go out in the Pacific and be a Navy pilot flying off one of the aircraft carriers out there. And war bonds, yes. Because I worked in the drugstore, I part of my pay, I always bought stamps, where they had savings bond stamps, and you would buy those as you had money until you got, I think it was 1875, to purchase, and you could turn those stamps in for a real bond.
Okay.
But yes, it was. We did participate that way. I was 14 years old when Pearl Harbor was bombed. It was a Sunday afternoon, and we had a console radio, and we were all in the living room doing something when the news came over that America had been bombed at Pearl Harbor.